Welcome to Directions, that show where we get to point you towards the right direction concerning several topics and several issues. And today is a special edition. We're still in the Women's History Month, and not to say that these conversations are just limited to 1 month a year, but in particular to lay emphasis on these conversations being had in a month where we sequester time to not only celebrate women, but to dissect, analyze, and discuss issues that affect women. And I mentioned on my social media page that in my pursuit to encourage, financial inclusion or financial literacy, especially as it regards women, we're going to be having a finance series called Her Finance on Directions. And we're going to be starting this off with a special guest, Queeneth Igbokwe, who is a marketing communications professional with over 5 years of experience, and she is currently serving as the marketing and communications lead at a digital bank called Sparkle. And today we're going to be talking about women and money. I intentionally made that the topic because I'm sure some people will look at it and they'll probably think it's like the regular, let's have a conversation about how women like money. I mean, that could be part of the conversation, but that definitely is not like the major bulk of the gist. But let's start with welcoming Queeneth. Hi, Queeneth. How's it going?
Very well. Thank you, Ify. A pleasure to be here. Thank you for having me. I'm excited to have this conversation.
So glad to have you here. So now just speaking about financial literacy and financial inclusion, these major topics are of significant importance, especially focusing on Nigeria, particularly because, of course, this is an integral part of our economy. Now, back in 2012, I believe that Nigeria was dubbed one of the most financially inclusive countries, and the reason was because we were the first, one of the first countries to have established a national financial inclusion strategy. Right, the whole idea of this strategy was to target 80% of the adults, right? And they were doing this through formal financial inclusion actions, and products and services as well. And I know that when this was done, we did see an improvement, because when there was a measurement or an assessment between when this strategy was established in 2012 and in 2020, right, they realized that we went up the financial inclusion ladder. I believe in 2012, it was about 53.7%. And in 2020, we went up to 64%.
That's good.
Right? And that's a good thing. Now, I mean, these are figures. These are figures based on what we perceive as Nigerians that are in Nigeria. So I'll just leave this information, right? Because I wanted to just create a background and sort of like a foundation before we pursue this topic. Now, I believe another thing that should be highlighted is the gap. The gender gap when it comes to financial inclusion as well.
Correct.
Because there was a body called, I think, Enhanced Financial Innovation and Access. They carried out a survey in 2018, and they realized that 41% of women did not have access to, formal financial services and products, things like insurance, payment services, and the list goes on and on, compared to their male counterparts, which was 33% of men who didn't have access to that. So it did show a gap. It showed there was like an 88%, I beg your pardon, gap in them. So I wanted to start, because if we talk about finances in general, there is this interesting perception that women like money. Now, if we think women like money, it might be assumed that of all people, women will know how to either pursue getting money. Exactly. They probably are more aware and enlightened about money, but based on what statistics and research is saying, that is not the case. So let's even start with the home front, right? Because I know that orientation plays a huge role when it comes to, financial literacy and all that. As a finance person, What do you think is the mindset of an average Nigerian girl, in their home? What are they being taught? Let's start with that. The average Nigerian girl, what do you think their mindset about money is?
In a typical Nigerian home, I'll say that money concerns are still seen as something the men should worry about, because it's perceived that, the men have so much more to do in terms of making money. They would get married, so they need to build more wealth for themselves, buy a car, have a house, start a family. But I think in a typical Nigerian home, the ladies are still seen as, she'll get married, probably marry a rich man, her husband will take care of her.
Yeah.
So I think this whole lack of financial literacy thing even stems from the home. It stems from the family unit. And then it just makes its way out of the family unit into the society. Because for everything we learn, it starts from the home and then it just trickles down to society and, Nigeria at large.
Yeah.
So I think it's the mindset at home, what we are being taught by our parents. And this has been passed on from generations to generations. That's why you see in a typical Nigerian homes, the men the guys in the home are being given more leeway to go out and make money, go out and hustle.
Yeah.
For ladies, just don't do too much, don't go out, too much, just restrict yourself a little.
Yeah.
All of those restrictions also pass a message of because when you restrict yourself, you're not exposing yourself to so much opportunity.
Absolutely.
So the guys are going out having more fun. Maybe a guy goes out to a party with his friends and like, guy, this business opportunity, my guy told me about this, let's make this money.
Yeah.
But ladies, when you're saying don't go out, don't do this, don't do that, you're making their world smaller. And if you're making their world smaller, you're making the opportunities available to them smaller. So it stems really from the family unit, and there's so much emphasis on the male child, being the head of the family, the breadwinner, making more money. And I think also we even see these things, right? Growing up, my dad was the breadwinner.
Exactly.
It wasn't seen as a 50-50 thing. It was just seen as, that is the one responsible for providing.
Yeah.
Mom is responsible for keeping the home and managing the money that provides. So it's ingrained in us from our formative years, really, that the men should be concerned more about money making.
So now, do you think that's the same way in this generation? Because I know that you work for a fintech bank, and a lot of times when we take a look at anything technology, we see that the target audience are the younger generation.
Correct.
Right? And I know you have access to information and data in terms of your clients and your customers and all that. So, with what you have explained, which I 100% align with, growing up as well, personally, my father was the breadwinner. And even if you ask me now, my husband will be the breadwinner, but it doesn't stop me from working. Do you get what I mean? But I want to know, based on the influx that you've seen, or, the response that you're getting from the young people today, do you think that mentality still stands?
Okay, so I would say the thing with digital banking is, I think digital banking has led to more women inclusion in terms of financial literacy and financial opportunities. And this is because with a digital bank, for example, like you mentioned, like rightly mentioned, I work with Sparkle, a digital bank that helps you do what you want to do when you want to do it. So we are not like, Sparkle is not like a traditional bank, right? So our banking solutions are modern, they are very inclusive and all of that stuff. So it makes it more attractive to everybody.
Okay, so you're
the women.
Okay, so you're saying, like, based on what we're seeing in general in recent time with how banks have implemented or they've tried to include technology, that it itself is something that has attracted more women.
Yes.
Interesting. There's one, and I probably wouldn't mention where this came from, where they said that women have the bulk of savings accounts in, I don't want to mention the name of the bank, right? But like in Nigeria, this was a bank that had mentioned, someone that worked in the bank had mentioned this, right? Saying that if you look through the system, you would see that women save a whole lot of money. Right. And so I can't really marry that with the statistics, because if the statistics is still saying that a certain number of women are still not still do not have access to formal financial services, things like savings, insurance and all that. But then on the other hand, you are getting information from people who obviously work at banks, work at financial institutions saying, don't play with women. A lot of the savings accounts that we have is women. So I want you to speak on that.
Okay, so savings is just one bit of the whole financial literacy thing or financial access thing for women. Savings is just one bit. I mean, women, we are high maintenance, so to say. We spend a lot more. Than our male counterpart, right?
Yeah.
So I think that will probably explain why we'll save. So I think another thing to look at is to see, what are these women saving for? Are we saving for human hair? Are we saving for frivolities? Or are we saving to invest?
That's interesting.
You can't get rich by saving.
You see, that's why you're here.
You can only get rich by investing. You need to
teach us. Okay.
Right? So I think while it may hold true that women are saving more, like your friend mentioned, what are they using the savings for? Is it translating to investment, or are they just saving, this is my target for my human hair, 500k, I hit the target, buy my human hair, I slay on Instagram still,
That's interesting.
Because you've saved, yes, but you haven't, what has that saving done for you in terms of increasing or growing your wealth and opening up opportunities for you as a woman?
So what you literally have pointed out right now, because I like the fact that you've mentioned that savings is just one aspect of financial literacy.
Yeah.
And I would like you to take us through, like, what are these different aspects? We might not necessarily focus or hone in on them because we have, like, this series will obviously span for, a couple of episodes where we're going to be taking out time to dissect and demystify these topics. But I just want you to break it down, because a lot of times you'd hear people talk about, I want financial freedom, I want financial independence. And one major question people ask when that conversation comes up is, have you been saving? How good are you at savings? And there are people who are like, listen, the way Nigeria is from hand to mouth. By the time you get this one, you would have this one issue come up or pop up. Unfortunately, due to the way Nigeria is run, sometimes it doesn't give you the opportunity to save as you want to save, right? So I know that predominantly a lot of times we hear savings. So I want you to take us through, what are these other aspects? When we talk about financial literacy, what are we really talking about?
Okay, financial literacy just basically means learning how to use money and just learning how to build a healthy relationship with money.
Okay.
Right? I think it's very important for women. Financial literacy is very important for women because women are key players in society. Like, women contribute significantly to society, and lack of financial literacy for women is what ultimately leads to financial insecurity. And by the time you look at it on a larger scale, that's what even affects women in marriages. If you check women who stayed so long in domestic violence, in violent environments or in bad marriages, the major thing you would see, we've observed that stopped these people from either leaving that relationship was financial insecurity. What am I going to do? Where am I going to go? Who am I going to squat with? Do you understand? So financial literacy is very important for women because it trickles down to other aspects of their life, even in terms of pay disparity, right? Women are seen as, we believe women should not be so concerned about money, and that mentality is already ingrained in their mind. So when they go out to seek for jobs, they can basically accept anything they are offered because I don't need to earn so much. My husband is taking care of the family.
Yes.
By the time you educate women about the need for, to stand their ground or be their own person in terms of finances, then they're able to demand higher pay for themselves and say, my husband is earning 500k. He's doing the same job as me. I should be able to earn that same amount of money.
Yeah.
Then you can, pretty much keep the home together.
Absolutely.
So financial literacy basically is all about educating women about money and helping them to build a healthy and a good relationship with money.
Okay. So just speaking about, building that healthy relationship with money, there are people a lot of times that focus on gender roles as well. And in Nigeria, we are a cultural environment, right? Now, for, banks that are technologically driven, how do you make it friendly enough for women to be interested? Because marketing is marketing, marketing, when it comes to marketing techniques, they can sell you something that you don't even want to use, but the way it's being sold to you, you're just like, okay, let me just buy this. But I understand that when it comes to inclusion as well as literacy, you're seeking genuinely to teach women how to have a better relationship with money. So how then do you make that attractive enough? Because we are in a cultural environment, and I know that when it comes to creating a more equal environment, we're talking about equity or equality, it's not just sequestered for financial institutions. There are different institutions that play different roles in targeting this overarching theme called equality. But in terms of the role that financial institutions play, how then do you make it inviting enough for these women to understand the need for them to pursue this knowledge and these different activities in terms
being
of
able to use these tools and financial tools available to them? Okay, before I answer that, I would also like to say, because I figured I didn't touch so much on your last question. So when you talk about financial literacy, there's savings, there's insurance, there's access to loans for women. Men still get more loans than women, right?
And why is that? There's several. I'm sure there's several.
There are a bunch of factors that come to play.
Okay.
Because first of all, men are earning more. So when banks only give you money,
absolutely,
based on your willingness and ability to pay.
Yes.
Right. So if you're earning more, you stand a higher chance of getting loan, because it's easy for you to pay back your loan. But the women are not earning as much as the men. So by the time they access you, should we give her a loan? She's not earning as much. So already that just takes
creates
women
a gap
out of the pool.
Exactly.
Which also explains the gap. And so there's insurance, there's access to finances, whether for business or personal growth, and there's the savings bit of it, right? And also investment. So it's a whole pool. And then with regards to your second question, I think the way fintech brands or banks in general can make financial tools more attractive to women is to be very intentional about it. For example, here at Sparkle, one thing we do is we try to be very deliberate in how we communicate. Because we're trying to attract women, most times we even make our designs, our communication materials women-centered. So it could be as little as just putting a woman in a loan ad or putting a woman in a savings ad. That way, other women can see themselves in that ad and say, okay, a pretty lady in a corporate attire, sitting in the office, being able to access loan. This looks like me. If she can access a loan, then I can access a loan as well. And also, like at Sparkle, we are very women centered. We're very, open to just helping women grow. And because of that, we also tailor our financial services to women a lot. So we have, we're working on loans for women. And as well, we also have savings plans for women.
Okay, just to touch on, these different savings plans and all that. According to research, it did show that about 41% or over 40%, let's leave it at over 40% of micro businesses are owned by women. Now, we know that there are traditional ways of managing money. If you go into the market right now, women have been taught from their mothers, who probably were also traders, how to manage their monies. It's either you carry your money, you put it inside your house, you leave it, you keep it, you do ajo. Exactly. And taking that, juxtaposing it with tech as well. So how then do you convince, and I'm talking in general, because I know that you're working for a tech bank, right? So just in general, I just want to know how you're able to convince people who were used to doing something that has worked for them over the years. And I say worked for them because even with these statistics that I'm pulling out, sometimes I have a love-hate relationship with statistics. I wish I could go out there to get the data by myself. But a lot of times, based on my sphere of influence, it's limited. So if I come out and say, I believe that women are such and such, it's still from my own limited sphere of understanding, right? Even with statistics talking about the gap when it comes to financial inclusion amongst the different genders, we know that over the years there are women who were breadwinners. And that's the thing about culture in Nigeria. Our culture as Nigerians has also taught us as women to, shield your husband or protect your husband if it's a situation where the dynamics are that you're the one who's bringing the money. The world doesn't need to know. Nigeria doesn't need to know that type of thing. Exactly. So there are women who have been breadwinners for a very long time, but we don't know about it because they don't go about talking about it, right? So it goes to show that when it comes to the business of making money, women have been there for a long time. So how do you convince people who, my mom was a trader, or my mom was doing this business, she never went to a bank for once, or she was never engaged in all these things, but she still did very well for herself and for the family? How are people able to even get convinced that this is going to be different or it's going to be better?
First of all, I think one of the important things technology has done is to simplify everyday processes. Right? For example, a trader who probably keeps her money, with the Market Women Cooperative or Thrift Society, trying to convince her to, get on, come and open an account, put your money in the account or create a savings plan using this digital banking platform. For people like that, you'd need to bring forward certain benefits, like convenience, right? Even in their traditional method, there's still some bit of stress, right? So the market woman, the thrift collector goes round, collect the money. There's still some paperwork involved. There's still some rudiments or routine operations involved in it. So we try to let them know that this is way more convenient. So you can just sit in the comfort of your house, bring out your mobile device, open an account right there and then. You don't even need to go to the bank. You don't need to sign any paperwork. No paperwork. Open an account. Start saving there. You can see data on your savings. See how well you're hitting your savings target and all of that stuff. So for people like that, convenience. And not just convenience, simplicity as well. Simplicity, because it's way simpler to just see all your financial projections at a glance, right? As opposed to having to call mama, somebody in the market, did I drop my job money for last month, trying to reconcile, blah, 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 the possible quarrels that could arise from that. But you're in control. You're doing everything because you have a platform that enables you to do that. And you can do that no matter where you are. So even if you stop trading in that market, what happens? You don't need anybody. You don't need to keep track of Mama Sikira or Mama somebody. You just have to do everything by yourself on your own terms. And then also try to let them know that it's also technology brings freedom. That's one thing.
Yeah.
Right? The freedom to do what you want to do when you want to do it. Not when... You don't have to save only when Mama Sikira comes to collect Jaja money. Right? You can do it anytime. So it doesn't have to be as routine as Mama Sikira has made it to be. Maybe at the close of the market day, you remit, let's say, 2,000 naira to the cooperative society. You can decide to remit 4,000 naira. You can decide to even remit on a day you don't go to market because you're in control. You have the access to that financial tool that's helping you save and helping you just basically keep track of your finances. So for people like that or in situations like that, you have to bring in the benefit that technology, because digital banks, what essentially are we? We're just leveraging technology to make banking simpler, more convenient, free, inclusive as well. That way nobody's left out. So, yeah.
All right, thank you very much. In case you are just tuning in, we are talking about women and money, talking about financial literacy, as well as talking about financial inclusion. If you'd like to ask questions or even join the conversation, please feel free to do just that. You can call us up 0809 234 5913, 0809 222 0913, 01515 0913, 01515 1913. Now back to just talking about how, we ought to teach women to have a good relationship with money. And you also mentioned things like investments, right? Now there have been, over the past 5 to maybe 7 years, there have been a series, or I even feel saying series is downplaying it. There has been a plethora of investment channels that have popped up, over the years. And these people are marketers. They market this investment platform and the way they tell you, you're just like, okay, I'm going to make a certain amount of money in the next 5 days. in the next 1 week, put this money. And, they go to, these different spheres and corners in Nigeria, informing people, especially those who may not really be well educated, unfortunately, convincing them to invest in a thing that doesn't make any sense. And I want to know how, banks in general, legit financial institutions are able to rewrite the wrongs that are being caused by these fraudulent investment platforms, right? Because the more you hear stories about things like, I remember MMM, that wrecked lives, wrecked so many lives. And so with such a thing happening, how do you go and convince another person that, say, this one, it was not a good option, it was not wise, you didn't make a wise, financial decision in engaging in MMM. However, there are several other ways that you can invest, and those investments do help these individuals to, build wealth, generational wealth, or whatever the case might be. So how in general do tech banks rewrite the wrongs of these platforms that come about, selling these gimmicks?
Okay, so when it comes to investment, I think first of all, women still believe it's a male thing. It's something mainly for men, because men need to, multiply their money because they are breadwinners and blah, blah, blah. So I think the first step is even to, change that narrative. And also, investment still seems complex to a lot of people, right? Especially when it has to do with stocks and all of that stuff. It still seems complex. So I think investment still needs to be demystified, especially for women, breaking down the communication and helping them understand what it is really. And in terms of changing the narrative or helping women understand what investment platforms are genuine and the investment options that work best for them, I think it also has to do with communication. At the end of the day, it's how you communicate it to these people. Like you mentioned MMM, that kind of shifted people's minds away from investment. MMM wasn't even an investment. So if people had really understood what investment really means and all the nitty-gritty that comes with it, perhaps not too many people would have fallen victim to MMM. It was even a get quick money scheme, not even an investment. Because there's something, when somebody tells you put 200, get 400, put another 200, get 400, put another, even real investments don't work like that.
Unfortunately, I mean, it would have been nice if they did work like that. There needs to be a lot of education around investment. That should be the first step. The orientation around investment, because that would then help anybody identify genuine investment and fraudulent investment schemes. So I think orientation, education, I think investment education, which also comes under financial literacy, educating women about saving, educating them about investments, what is the right thing to invest in, what are the right investment platforms. And thankfully, technology has even made it easy. There's so many investment brands, just the way you can bring out your phone and open a bank account from the comfort of your mobile device. You can actually invest in stock options, both local and international, just from the comfort of your phone. Because like you said, many fintech brands have come on board to make investment simple and manageable for people. And I'm sure they're even also doing it with women in mind, because men have the energy and strength to go all out with investment, rack their brains with the big numbers, all of that stuff. But women, we're still newbies to investment. We're still trying to learn it. So making it simple is what helps us accept it more and be more open towards it. Absolutely. Now, before we wrap this up, because we've touched on a couple of things, talking about the orientation of the average Nigerian girl who obviously grows into a woman, and she already has been taught to have a certain relationship with money from a young age, to how, financial tools and services are being communicated to women, how they're being curated to attract women, and investments. We have spoken about a couple of things, but just to wrap up, I want to know, from your expert perspective, moving forward, what are the things that we need to be more intentional about to ensure that we are closing the gap when it comes to financial inclusion, the gender gap in financial inclusion, and also the gender gap in financial literacy? So what are the things that we all need to be intentional about?
I would say let's go back to where the problem started from. So if you want to tackle a problem, go back to the root. Where this whole problem or misconception or bias with money came, where did it come from? It came from the family unit. So you need to, so if you're going to tackle it, you need to start from the family unit. Just women, mothers, basically educating their children more about finances. And I also think that, like you mentioned, in a typical home, you find that if the woman happens to be the breadwinner, or she's the one bringing the money, they'll mostly keep it on the low key. They don't want the children to know that mommy is breadwinning, mommy is bringing the money. Mm-hmm. But what that does is then it doesn't position mommy as someone who is, contributing financially, someone who is, financially literate and has control of her finances. Mm-hmm. So we also need to go back to the family unit and change some of those conceptions. It's okay for mommy to bring money too as well, because when they see mommy providing, they get the mindset, oh, okay, if mommy can provide, I can provide. I also be a provider. I also need to work for myself. So I think we need to go back to the family unit and especially parents, educate your children about money. Have money talks with them. I think your first money lesson will probably even come from your house. When visitors come and give you money, do they tell you to give it to your brother? Do they tell you to just keep it? Are they educating you about it? Okay, are they telling you, keep this money, I'll keep this money for you. When you grow, we use it to do this, we use it to do that. So just teaching children more about money. And also, I would say for financial institutions, being intentional and deliberate in the way we communicate financial tools to women. We are still struggling to get a grasp of it. Some of us are still not even sure, or we are still not able to demystify finances, investments, and all of that stuff that has to do with financial literacy. So being intentional with the communication, just to help demystify the whole, investment jargon and all of that stuff that women think it is. And then I also think that women should just be more open to having money talks. Okay. I know that for women, because we are already stereotyped as people who like money. So by the time we start...
who doesn't like money? Yeah. Is the question.
Exactly. So by the time we even start to have money conversations, I feel like unconsciously there's that a lady would feel, let me not do too much.
Exactly.
But there's nothing wrong with liking money. I mean, if you're high maintenance, then make more money. Take care of yourself. So
okay. Not? I love that.
So, just being open and just, I think for financial institutions, they need to be more deliberate in how they communicate, like I've rightly mentioned, and the women themselves need to be more open. Don't be shy to talk about money. Just break away from the stereotype.
Yeah.
Push it back. Don't let that get to you. Make your money. Because at the end of the day, when you make that money, you pass it on to generation. Financial literacy for women is also what contributes to generational wealth. Absolutely. And if you think about it, in a family unit, when the finances is one-sided, everybody suffers for it, right? But when mom and dad is contributing, right, they're able to build wealth faster, and that wealth transcends generation.
Absolutely. So and I feel that unfortunately, the way the world is, or particularly the Nigerian economy, it's a whole lot of pressure on the man, especially in the home. Now, I did mention categorically that I believe that my husband will be the breadwinner, but it doesn't in any way stop me as well from contributing. It doesn't in any way stop me as well, trying to build something of my own, because as I build it, I will be a contributor to my home in so many other ways, but including financially as well. So gone are the days where it was not as stressful, and I use the word loosely. It was not as stressful when the man was the sole, breadwinner or financial provider. But right now, the pressure is a whole lot. It's just too much. So I believe for every family to thrive, depending on, the field that person has found themselves in, or the husband has found himself in, for every family to thrive, it will be nice if, financial literacy and just that provision or that contribution, financial contribution, comes from both sides. And children do what they see, not necessarily what you tell them. Exactly. So in teaching children as well, play it out for them so that they see that, okay, mom and dad are both making financial decisions, right? Because when it comes to financial decisions, a lot of times it's the husband, the man. So you play it out for them, even if it's a situation where it's your husband that is the breadwinner, that's fine. But in front of your kids, because you're also trying to empower both male and female.
Yes.
Exactly. So you play it out for them, let them understand that this thing called decision making, financial decision making, both of you have to learn it, because daddy and I, are doing this in the home
resources together
as well. All right, it's 12 minutes past 1 p.m. Let's just take this call very quickly before wrapping up. Lagos Talks, good afternoon. What's your name?
Yes, good afternoon. I talk on the credibility of women handling money then when it comes to spending, the emotions, how to control your
I mean, you're actually asking a very legit question. So the credibility of women handling money and then spending money. So I'm guessing that's a very mixed stereotype, but it does exist, right? And we need to address it. Okay. So are you saying, Ebuka, and I will probably assume on your behalf that you can't really trust women with money?
Or are you saying they are wasteful spenders?
We are wasteful. We enjoy
money.
it, we enjoy spending money. So can we comment on that? Like in terms of, how there's some people are like, no, I mean, she's not going to be in charge of the finances. Because she probably will be spending it.
Well, that's why we need that financial literacy for women, so women can learn how to manage money. Because if the men are out there thinking, I can't trust her with money because she doesn't know how to manage money, well, it holds true to an extent.
But I, for some reason, I feel like women are good financial managers. For some reason, because you hear, sometimes in conversations, you hear, it's my wife, my wife is in charge. My wife doesn't say, I can't spend it. Or if maybe someone comes and ask, Oga, please, can you, help me for the weekend? You say, ask Madam. Madam is the one that will now say, okay. So I don't know. I mean, maybe
the flip side.
I know there's a flip side as well, because we love to spend money. So it's like, And
I think it also has to do with individuality. Some people
absolutely
just spend, which is also why I'm, just re-emphasizing the need for financial literacy. Know how to manage your money, know how to save, know how to invest. Then that would not be so much of a problem. Then we'll probably have less cases of this scenario he has,
absolutely
painted.
And I feel like, Ebuka, as well, I feel like a clear example. We're not going to further flesh out what I'm going to say, but a clear example about women managing money. Just look at your country, Nigeria. I mean, how many percent of male leaders do we have compared to the female leaders? And what's going on with our economy? So I feel like that in itself, tells a whole lot when it comes to the credibility of men and women handling money. It probably is just an individual thing. So there are good people, there are bad people.
Exactly.
Do you understand?
The bad person will always be bad.
Will always be bad.
Do things wrongly. The good person will do things in the right way. And I think he also touched on saving. How can what was the second question? How can we help women save? I think he mentioned there were two questions.
Yeah, I think so. I don't know that I grabbed that last.
I mean, that, like we mentioned, there are tools, there are digital banking tools, there are apps that you can use to, better manage your finances. So if, for example, he has a girlfriend, maybe a wife who's not managing money well, plug her in with a good digital management banking app or a good money management tool that she can use to save and, keep track of her spending, keep track of her finances and all of that stuff like that. So I think that, in 2023, there's no even reason why you should be bad at managing money, except it's just an individual thing. Because there are tools at your disposal. There are banking apps, there are, savings app,
like Sparkle,
things like that you can just use to save and hit your target. So I'm thinking it's just more of an individual thing right now.
All right, this is coming from Chris from Toronto, saying, hello girls, I only just connected my wireless earbuds to talk to my mom over the phone, and then I hear Lagos talks. Interesting. On the talking point, I see the term influencers used a lot on social media, but I tell you what, you girls in the studio right now are the real MVPs, the real influencers for bringing this to the knowledge of women. For women to be inclusive in the investment and business space, I think that some conventional or orthodox expectations regarding the role of the woman in the society have to be reassessed and managed to enable women go the distance. There's a lot of support cast needed from the family, academic institution, government, and the society at large, because the woman is a special kind of being. I'm not saying men are ordinary, but with women, it is delicate. Algebras and calculus are great, but teaching young people, including young women, how to handle and make money is greater. There's a lot of lies out there. For instance, the biggest cosmetic brands will tell the young woman that they aren't women if they don't wear certain cosmetics or walk in a certain way. Perception has to change, and it starts from the cradle. Women should start seeing themselves as business moguls from a very young age. And I like that you've brought that up, and I want to just comment on that before taking this next call. The role of role models is very important, and that's where we could probably tie this conversation of influencers. The truth is, anybody can be influential, but it depends on the quality of influencers that you're looking up to. Having a role model, because the truth is, I personally and this is something that I'm going to talk about probably in another episode, just breaking out into this world of financial freedom and independence has been such a beautiful move for myself personally. And I feel one way that I was inspired to do that is the presence of role models. Seeing another woman who may not be married or probably married, whose husband is doing great in his finances, and then she's doing so great as well, not necessarily because she's married into a wealthy home, but because you can literally see that it's either a business of hers or a position that she's holding in whatever field or career she is that is enabling her, and with the investment decisions that she's making as well. And they being able to come out there using themselves as an example, teaching people as well. So if we have more women doing that would definitely be helpful.
I definitely agree with you, but I think it's also important to mention that your first role model will always be your mom.
Absolutely.
Will always be your mom.
Absolutely.
Right? Before you then, go into society or go online, you see other models, other people that you want to admire or aspire to be like.
Yes.
So I think, that's why it's important for this whole financial literacy thing to start from the home. Because the first person you see as a role model, the first person you want to emulate while growing up is your mom. How she does things.
Yeah.
That's what you want to do it. That will be your first experience of how to do that thing.
Yeah.
So start from the home.
This is coming from Wole saying, personally, I think women are better money managers than men. My fiance is a very good example. If I want to save towards a target, I use her account because I'm confident it's safer with her than me. This one is coming.
That's a disciplined fiance, right?
Absolutely.
Individuality has a role to play, like we said.
This is coming from architect Olalekon saying, talking about money management, a lot of people earn 50k and spend 20k on ashwebi here and there. Just if you're trying to talk to women, just say women, don't say a lot of people, because he's probably talking about women spending money on ashwebi. I'm saying that when you ask them how much is the ashwebi, they will tell you 20k. But what a lot don't know is that it takes you 3 months to save 20k for that ashwebi. That ashwebi takes you how many months of your life? I don't know that you included that there, Mr. Olalekan. But he's saying ladies had better start saving for their dreams than the next Owambe. Let's take this call very quickly. Lagos Talks, good afternoon. What's your name?
Okay, thank you very much. You have a different good one.
All right.
Nice. Viewing by the Instagram. So, thanks for the answer, because this conversation is very important, especially for the young folks growing up and handling money. Money is more like having a good relationship with money. You go far, because money is emotional, it goes with emotional feelings and all. So now, in business, you see there's profit in chaos, so there's way there's fear, there's profit. How do women handle chaos in business when it comes to money? I made this. Thank you very much once again.
I don't know that I got it. How do women handle chaos in business? Is that what you're asking? I do not know. But if that's not what you're asking, if that's what you're asking, please confirm by either calling us back or sending us a message so that we know exactly what you're talking about. And it's 21 minutes past 1 p.m. We actually do need to wrap this up right here, right now. It's been a great conversation with Queeneth, who is the marketing and communications lead at Sparkle. Thank you so much for, telling us about financial literacy as well as inclusion from an expert point of view, and hopefully we get to have more conversations about financial literacy. Remember, just with a keen focus on that gender gap, because according to statistics, there is a gap, in financial literacy and inclusion between the male and the female gender, particularly in Nigeria. And that's something that needs to be addressed, as it does make a contribution to our economy.